and welcome to episode 90.
3.
Episode 92. Kathy.
No, it's episode 93.
It is actually 93.
Episode 93, where today we're going to talk about a little bit of Song of Ice and Fire game, because I played one and it made me think of something we should talk about. And I know John has some good opinions on it due to overpowered or broken models. But before we do that, we have to get to all of our pleasantries. First, we want to thank all of our sponsors for making this podcast possible. I want to thank Muson Minis. Guys, if you need any widgets, tokens, measurements, buildings for terrain, especially if you're an Infinity or Batman player, go to Muson Minis and purchase their products. If you use the code MORETHANDICE, all one word, you get 10% off your order. And it helps us out also. We want to thank Tectonic Craft Studios. Everybody say hi to Dan. Hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
Dan is a longtime fan. We love him so much. He makes some really cool MDF terrain. And we have some codes that we can give away on the next podcast. We have 3 more codes we will give away for gift certificates on there. On top of that, we have Mechanica Studios, which if you would like some incredible trays or any graphic design work, Chris does all of that. And he also sells our tournament terrain, our tournament token sets, our tournament mats, all that stuff on his website for us, which we greatly appreciate. And if you tell him that Gonzo sent you, he'll probably tell you to, go sink a ship or something. But he'll sell you the product anyway.
I don't think that's true.
Nah. Chris and I, we've been doing a lot together. Him and I have grown very, very close over these last few months doing Warfare Weekend. Which is another one. I'm going to plug that one real quick. We're less than 60 days away from Warfare Weekend. If you want to play some awesome games, come see me. Drink a lot of drinks with me. Party. Have a good time. One of the best times in the world. Come go get a ticket to Warfare Weekend. They're $75, and you don't have to pay anything extra to play in any games at the event. You just choose the games you want. We have some amazing artists there, by the way. Doing some amazing classes. Pick some classes. Do that. Grab some drinks. Come and have fun with me. Let's get started with the really, really cool stuff. John, what are you drinking?
Well, I'm going to start off with a shot of Captain Morgan Cannon Blast for a second shot if you were watching during the pre-ramble. And then I'm going to follow up with a Force Blow, which for those of you who don't know from the old days is Kraken, rum, and orange juice.
Kathy, what's on your agenda for drink today?
So I was drinking gin and ginger ale.
Mm-hmm.
And I switched to tea. You heard the buzzer. My tea has steeped sufficiently, and now I have hot tea sitting next to me, and it will be delicious.
Nice. Today, I am drinking some good old Sortilege. And I have a running bet with somebody, so if I get a little verschnickered tonight, I apologize. I have to blame it on someone else.
Yeah, just blame it on someone else.
I mean, I always do.
It's never your fault.
So we do have a tribute today. One of our members of our community passed away this last week. A friend of ours named Spence Castile. He had been sick for quite a while. Family hasn't told us what, but if anybody knew him, knew that he was not a very healthy person. He passed away Monday. He was a very awesome guy, always smiling, always happy, always helping. He was a press ganger also, so he was, one of the good guys in that fact. And he's going to be missed. He was a really good guy. John, do we have anybody else we need to give a tribute to?
Eddie Money died.
That's right. I did see that. For the people that are old enough to know who Eddie Money is, John, who is he?
Wow.
Gonzo's not old enough.
Oh, I'm old enough to know who Eddie
Apparently.
Money is.
He's a basic, you would call him a classic rock star. His biggest hits, the one that most people our age would know him for, would be "Take Me Home Tonight," which was sort of his comeback in the MTV era. But his actual biggest song is "Two Tickets to Paradise."
Yes.
Which, of course, is the biggest song.
Yeah, and it's a great, great song. I mean, it is top notch. And didn't know much about him. Again, he's a little before our time, maybe not quite Gonzo's time.
No, I know who Eddie Money is.
But he was, he's a good star. He wasn't in the news a lot, which in my book makes him even better. It means he wasn't doing anything stupid.
Just make good music.
Yep, just good music and keeping quiet.
All right. To all of our fans, all of our family, and everybody out there, please be safe. Cheers.
Cheers.
There's one for the cheer, and here's one for someone I owe something for. This shit's so fucking good.
So Beanion's drinking Orange Crushes and Jameson, and I'm kind of envious.
I
I'm
think
like a
he had
lot
those
envious,
when he was out.
actually.
I think he had those when he was out. We don't have that here, so I don't. I mean, unless he brought it home, didn't share it.
He may have. He's not gonna share with you. He won't even go get you a milkshake, John. Why would he share with you?
Wow. This is getting really. Bana and I apologize. I am not attacking you at this moment. I'm actually trying to defend you. If you know him, you can imagine the face he's making at that moment.
He's probably like, "Fuck Gonzo. He's so mean. Such a jerk."
He was all ready to leave. I had to beg him to stay.
He's a bit for Snickers.
See?
No longer
No
following.
longer following. Subscription revoked. I hate you all. Pretty sure you didn't actually say that, did you? No?
Yeah, he did.
No, he didn't say any of that. I'm waiting for my phone to pop
You
here.
Waiting for him to pop up and go, Gonzo, quit being a
Hate you
jerk.
all, see?
He would not pop in a room and say, hate you all. I have a lot of knives next to me.
Not your personal room, but definitely this chat room he would.
Oh, no, this is my personal room.
Beanion.
Wait, you think I have
love
a
you.
studio room? No. This is my room. I can turn this around. You can see my wonderfully, perfectly made... It's up here with me, Banion. It's up here.
I've got 2 tickets to paradise.
Oh. All right, let's please. Gonzo, back on the rails.
Let's go. Let's keep on topic. Okay, so this week, I played a game of Song of Ice and Fire. For everybody knows, it's a miniature game. Regimental battle, so you move everybody in,
It's ranks and flanks.
There's a ranks and flanks. And so I play Night Watch. Night Watch have an ability, or a model, I should say, that when you place it on a certain part, it's an NCU, so it's not played in the battle, it's played on the board, on the sideboard, that when you place it on there, you get to heal your unit even more. There is a section on the board that says whenever you put a model on this section, you can put 3 models back on a unit. Really good. But this one says not only do you get to put those 3 units on, you get to put roughly 3 more models back on, up to 3 more models back on. So you could take your unit and it can go from 1 rank to 3 ranks. And so it's pretty powerful. Night Watch is built around the ability to bring models back and keep things alive. Some of their models are not very good in combat. There's one unit that is extremely good, and so you, for all intents and purposes, field them. Because they're cheap and they're good. And so this week I tried out a bunch of different things. I got a new hero box in, and trying it out. And tried out this one unit, which didn't work out for me. Didn't like it. It got bogged down. Just didn't care for it. But then I tried out this other unit that was super, super expensive. And I thought really wasn't going to do shit. But I added this special character to the unit. And it became a little more fun. But it was still way too expensive for my taste. And then I played this one unit that is their rank and file troop. Their core model unit, which I really like. And I put Jon Snow in it. And Jon Snow, when you field Jon Snow, you get his wolf with him too for 0-point cost. And you always
pet the wolf.
Oh, you always get the wolf, and you always pet him. You always tell him a good boy, and you let him do what he needs to do.
Does he have a squeaky?
He doesn't have a squeaky. He just chews up people, and that's it.
Seriously, I'd be basing that wolf with the squeaky.
And so one of the abilities that Jon Snow has is when you activate his unit, you get to activate Ghost also at the same time. So you get to activate 2 units together, and they kind of team up. The Wolf is a very fast model, so it can move around the board quite quickly. It can hit and do damage, and when it does damage, you don't get a save, but it only hits a maximum of 2 models in the unit. But this week when I was playing one of my local guys, he was complaining about the recursion of the Night Watch. Like he took one of his large cavalry units, smashed into my unit. It was a full flanked. It was 100% unit, and took it down to 1 guy. And I was able to save it from dying by using this one guy's ability, where I don't have to take a panic test, but I can just kill a guy in my army, kill a guy in that unit, and I don't have to make a panic test. So I don't have to worry about it. So he killed it down to 1 guy. So I was like, oh crap. And so the next thing I did, was because it was on my turn, I went over and claimed that zone on the board, and I brought back 5 guys. So I went from a full unit to half a unit right off the bat. And it upset the player. And I can see why. I'm not denying his emotions or anything like that, of you know, that why it would upset him and stuff. But later on after the game, I started thinking, what do we do about, and this is for any game, this is the reason why I'm asking John about this, because you do Malifaux and you have some models and you know it better than I do, how powerful some of that shit is.
Every model in Malifaux is, every high cost model in Malifaux is bullshit.
Yeah. But right. Where we're going with this, you were able to comment on it. And I started thinking, how can he, with the army he had, stop my major recursion and card abilities and so on and so forth? And I started thinking and looking at it, and I was like, this just doesn't apply to this game. It applies to every game we play.
There's always 2 answers. Specific game answers where you use the game rules to your advantage to help you against stuff like that, and then there's generic answers to things.
Yeah, so I really started thinking about this. How could this player have stopped me from getting the recursion back? And I go, well, first thing he does every turn, if he can help it, because it's alternating activations and alternating first players, is to claim that zone, no matter what, on that tactic board, right off the bat. Now, of course, that means he may have to not bring someone up as quickly, or maybe not get, as many people back in the unit that he had, but it is better than letting me get 5 models back in my unit. Type thing.
Absolutely. The first thing you do is you claim that zone.
Yes.
Yeah, you know you're going in. That's just set up proper, knowing what it is. Claim the zone, make it, even if you're not getting the benefit out of it, you're denying.
Correct.
And that's one of the things you have to look at in games, is not every move you make is for your benefit. Sometimes your benefit is denying your opponent their benefit. There are games like Star Realms, like deck building games, and any sort of drafting games, where buying just or just getting the resources you want isn't always good enough. Sometimes if you can see what your opponent's going to do, what they want to do, and take what they want to do, you might get just as good or a better value out of that.
Correct. But I mean, it brought into light that there's a lot of games that we play where there's like this one model. For example, War Machine and Hordes. Lord of the Feast. Lord of the Feast is a ball-busting model that just, it's hard to get around. And so everybody's like, well, I have to stay this distance away from everything. I have to stay this far away from this thing. I have to stay, I have to be very careful because he can get this distance and this distance on me. And it was still a problem. Even with having to think about that, it was still a problem. So it came to the fact that you had to nerf the model.
Had to nerf it. But you can't always rely on the company to do that. Sometimes they're not going to. You're going to have to find ways to do it.
Yes. And
that is sort of the definition of where a meta comes up. If Lord of the Feast is prevalent, or those infantry chewing models, Gerlach, Slaughterborn, I've seen Thorn Chiefs, the solos with Storm Rager on them.
Mm-hmm.
If those models are a problem, the meta changes so that you don't play infantry heavy lists. You just make lists with no infantry because those models all suffer greatly when you don't have infantry for them to chew on.
Correct.
But that's sort of like that's the metagame, and that is a part of everything. And you don't look at that so much in friendly games, but as soon as you're taking the game more seriously than a casual one-off, or you care that much about how much you win or lose, you have to look at that, and that's one of those levels. You know, if you're playing against all Space Marines with plasma weapons, to go 40k for a second, you don't bring the high-cost troops that are value for him to go plasma upon. You bring the shit. Like, wave 1, go. Oh, look, you plasma killed a ton of my dudes. I don't care. Wave 2, go.
Yeah.
You know, Alan Blunt used to call it the last gun shampoo with guardsmen, where you just overwhelm them by, yeah, they're shitty shots, but here's a million of them. You can't kill enough dudes. You know, quantity is a quality all its own. But that's, again, metagaming. You have to know what it looks like and what... War Machine and Hordes had that many times. Its meta swings more than most.
Correct.
Where it... well, my camera's really freaking out, isn't it? Or
Yeah,
Skype's really freaking out.
Yeah, you're getting a little bit of stutter in your voice. Robot stutter. Not bad.
Okay. Well, in any case, but their meta is the most mobile, let's say, where lists will pull infantry out and add infantry in, jack heavy, not jack heavy, MSU, you know, what have you. They'll change on a whim to suit what the big lists are out there.
Yes.
And in some cases, you have to do that because that's how you do it. Because I find there are very, very few models in most games that are broken. If a broken model exists and they haven't nerfed it, if they're a company that does that sort of thing, that's a bigger problem, and then you have to find ways to defeat them. In some ways, there isn't. I mean, let's be honest. Private Press tried long and hard to not have to nerf certain warcasters and ended up having to.
Yeah. I mean, because you
they tried
really don't want to nerf anything, honestly. Because it's nerfing is a bad taste, but sometimes it's a must-do ability. Do we lose John?
Absolutely. It's still hear you.
Okay, you kind of went out for a second.
Yeah, well, the internet's being weird, as it likes to do only on Sunday nights at this time.
Yeah, I mean, you really
the
don't.
last couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, but so there's a lot of ways to do it. The first thing you want to do is you want to look at something and go and decide. You need to analyze it. Is this model broken, or is it just being used to its maximum potential? I don't feel necessarily what you're doing was broken. You're just using it to your maximum potential.
Correct.
And that can seem like broken.
Yeah. I will always use my models, you know, at the maximum potential and get everything to win the game within the rules, of course. But I mean, it's been a common thread among the Song of Ice and Fires that Night Watch are broken into OP, and I'm like, I started thinking of lists and other factions to beat them because that's how I am. I'm like, hey, I think this would give me a very good run to money and screw the fuck out of me. So why don't you try this? And so people are like, well, no, it doesn't work because I want to play with this. I go, there's the issue at one point. You don't want to try something because you don't want to play it.
Yeah. If you're not willing to change what you're playing to face your opponent because he's beating you, that is a you problem. That is no longer a game problem.
Correct.
The game's a problem when you have done everything in your power, you've tried everything, and you just cannot find the answer. You have this, you know, Larmy that does well against most things. You come to this one thing, and you just can't do it. And sometimes our games are built around paper, rock, scissors. Sometimes you just are playing paper, and they brought scissors.
Yeah.
You know,
there is
that happens a lot. But you need to analyze that. I like to always say, you need to turn off the lizard brain, which is the one that's reactionary, and turn on the higher brain, and just stop and think about it. Don't become tilted. Don't get upset. It is merely a problem to figure out, and that's hard to say in the game. We all get tilted. It all happens.
Oh yeah.
But you have to pull back from that and turn on the higher brain and go, okay, this is a problem. How do I solve this problem? You know, if something's a problem, you just look at it and go, what are they doing right? Okay, what can I do to counter that without compromising maybe the list I'm trying to build? If you can't, then you better hope there's a two-list format, or you need to change your list, or hope you dodge them.
Yeah.
I mean, there are times. That's sort of why certain games evolve certain, let's say, tournament systems or even overall systems. If you look at bigger competitive games like War Machine Hordes, that's why they still have two lists. Because it is paper, rock, scissors a lot of times, and you don't want to be stuck with paper when you know your opponent's going to drop scissors.
Yeah, and that's I like games that have two list formats because it does help out in that type of issue. When you're like, oh, I don't, I know that this guy's going to drop this because he has this XY model, and then you're like, but I have this list that can help it out.
So I'm weird. I like that, but only if I don't know what the scenarios are in advance. There are certain games where the tournaments generally give you a list of the scenarios you're going to play, and then allow you to have two lists. And I'm like, no, come on. Pardon the slightly sexist tone of this. Man the fuck up and bring your one list if you know what the scenarios are going for. You can play for it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't have both. That's just too much. That's like easy button shit.
Yeah. I prefer a two-list format, although I know some games you probably couldn't do a two-list format. Like, I couldn't see a 40k two-list format. Can you imagine bringing all those models?
Yeah, it would be difficult. Just number of models. I couldn't see that. That's one, though, where I think they would post the list of, these are the scenarios. We're not going to tell you necessarily what order, whatever. And you build your list so that you can compete in all those scenarios. I have no problem with that. That seems fine. And you go to the other end where Malifaux plays just like the regular game where you figure out what you're playing. You mentioned you come to the table with your faction. I'm playing X faction, generally the same through a tournament. And then you figure out what the scenario and the strategies and schemes are, and then reveal that. And then you make your crew based off knowing the schemes, the strategies, and the opponent's master. So if you're like, oh, they're playing Pandora. Pandora's going to fuck with my willpower. I'm going to bring the high willpower crew. But you can meta that knowing, okay, he knows I'm bringing Pandora, so he's going to bring that. I'm going to go left turn, bring a lot of stuff that doesn't attack willpower, so that willpower isn't necessarily helping him. He's paying points for stuff that's not helping him. That's where some games get into the higher list. Marvel Crisis Protocols can be a lot of that, because you're going to see the missions, know, I think, what the opponent's overall 10-man pool is, and then you guys will make your pool separately, knowing what the mission is and what potentially guys you could be facing. So that'll be interesting when they get more models out. Early on, it'll be a little bit of, well, gee, did you bring Hulk and or MODOK? No? Well, I know which 10 models you have. The same thing on the other end. Did you bring Hulk or MODOK? No? Okay, sure, I know what you got. But that'll be better as we get more models. But there's some lists that don't mention that. You just have to analyze it, and it's part of the fun of those games is stopping and going, what do I do against this? But it only works if the game's working with you. So while Privateer Press is doing CID and is dedicated towards trying to make things balanced, it works very well. Because they're trying to take the big stuff down a bit, take the small stuff up. They're trying to make everything meet in the middle, which is good. It should be more of the raising than the lowering, but some things are just too crazy that have to be lowered. 40K and Age of Sigmar are doing a little bit of that. Looking forward to the next Age of Sigmar update, because I've seen some stuff that is broke as fuck, and I'm sure they're going to get balanced. But they're committed to that. And I like that. You have to have a game company that's committed to that. Legion just did that. We talked about that last week, didn't we, Gonzo?
Yes, we did. They changed the points.
Yeah, the Legion points change and rules changes, They're like, these things are not getting played. They're not working in a tournament structure. So let us change the points on them. So if you've got a company that's doing that, then you're going to find an answer to it eventually. There might be times when it's like, hey, look, snow speeders are still too expensive right now. I need to put them aside and play something else.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to do that. Sometimes you're going to have to. You may, or you just, pull up your adult pants, tighten them up, and go, I'm going to play this stuff that's subpar because I want to play it, knowing full well it could bite me in the ass. That's pretty much your choices at that point. Sometimes your theme or what you like to play takes precedent. I mean, I made a joke with the Legion list that I played a ton of models.
You're breaking up really bad, John.
Oh, sorry. I said I was playing a lot of models that they changed points on. It didn't affect me. I mean, I got lots.
Yeah. John, if you can hear us, you may want to like shut down and come back in. I don't know what the deal is. But John is right about the point value. I went back to my Legion list because of the changing of points. And I noticed that I was getting a decent amount of extra points back. But it didn't do a whole lot for me. I just added other things in. And so I went and looked at different things within my War Machine and Hordes lists. And also my Night Watch list that I have for Song of Ice and Fire. And really, I don't think that anything in any of my lists are broken. None of the two War Machine and Hordes lists I play for Khador. I play a Doomreaver spam list and a Jack spam list, and neither one of them I think are broken. They're a pain in the butt. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think they're broken.
There's another thing where that's a higher thing in the rules of the game. Just in the game, are they broken? Not technically, but many of us who stop playing War Machine and Hordes feel that spam lists in general are broken.
Yeah, I can see
so that's a higher level thing. So, but that's as people say, and I really hate this saying when they say don't hate the player, hate the game. Like, you don't have to play with it. If you know something's broken, like Berserker spam. They played it at one high level, then he's like, I just want to show you this shit's broken. He showed it, then he's like, I don't want to play this again. I just wanted to show you guys.
Oh, yeah, back, 2 years ago, and Chris Davies played the entire Berserker spam list, and it immediately got nerfed right after it.
Well, yeah,
because people are going to play those lists if they want to be competitive at tournaments, and they're going to practice those lists when they're not at tournaments.
Correct.
Well, but that's a higher level thing. That is internal. That is, does your honor allow you to do that? If so, then do it. I don't necessarily agree with it. I think that's a terrible thing to do. If you know something's broken, you should not be playing it. When I'm playing, where we're playing Transformers the guys, if we know something is top tier and broken, we don't play it at just fun game night anymore because we know it's top tier and broken. We know this works. We know it's competitive. We don't need to test it. The only reason to test is because you feel like stomping the shit out of somebody, or someone goes, hey, I feel like my deck has got it. I actually want to see if it plays against that. It becomes the big guns you only bring out when someone wants to test.
Yeah.
Or you have a cool idea. So, go ahead.
Crimson just wrote, so I feel like there's an issue with the idea of having these unwritten rules about what is broken and not broken and trying to use social pressure to achieve that. I mean, if something's broken in the rules and the rules say you can play it that way, then have at it, Yeah,
you should never, so asterisks. In a tournament, you should never even fault a person for that. That is absolutely what it's for. It should be brought to the game designer's attention so they can address it. In casual play, the rules are totally different. The social contract is different. If you come to a casual night with your I'm playing all the broken stuff in the universe, you should be socially ostracized because that's not okay. You're breaking the unwritten rules of casual night. If it's tournament prep night, by all means, bring the heaviest shit you can, because that is the intent of the night.
Well, that brings up another thing. Do a lot of places, and I'm going to preface this after I say it, have casual only night, tournament only night.
Oh,
and
no.
I know our store does.
Local community to do.
Correct.
That's up to
our
you guys.
Store does that, like on one night a week, it is casual games only or learning games. Every other night, it's kind of like open to free. But we also have this, unwritten rule that if someone's new, don't curb stomp them. We want them to stay.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if they say, hey, I'm going to a tournament with y'all this weekend. Show me what I'm going to be facing against. We're like, You sure? And they're like, yeah. And we're like, okay, here you go. This is what you're going to see. And we're not going to hold back.
Brings up a good point where he says it's hard for someone to know what is acceptable and unacceptable, to bring to a game. I don't want people to say he's a jerk because I tried to make a good list, but actually made too good of a list. Well, see, you don't ever do that to someone you don't know. So the hell of social contracts with gaming and is that we tend to make them unwritten when they should be written. They should be fully explained, like you come going like, hey, I'm trying to make a really good list. Cool, Crimson, bring out your really good list. I'll bring out my really good list. That's intent. We know what you're intending. We know what your goal is. We can adjust properly.
It's hard if you're going to some place where you don't know what the meta is. You don't know what the people are like, and you build this list, and you didn't just get it off the internet. Maybe it's similar to something that's floating around on the internet, and you just stomp people, and they think you're just a giant dick, and you're like, look, I didn't realize.
That also comes to the thing that we need to be more socially with the people that come in that are brand new. Like if John were if John were coming to my store and he was brand new, never met him, and he says he plays War Machine Hordes, I would get to know him and find out what he's playing, what his level of ability is. Say, hey, I'm a big tournament player and I bring a lot of tournament style ass kicking lists. What is your level of play, or what do you want to do? Are you still learning?
Introduce yourself to a new group.
Yeah,
like let them know what you're about, so like, hey, this guy comes up, what he's about. Because you can't always gather that. I can tell 2 stories that'll illustrate different points of that. There's your milkshake.
Yeah, my milkshake is here.
One is a guy came recently. Greg came to the local store because he was just stationed in Fort Meade for a while, which is local, and he gave off that opinion, that idea, like, oh, he's a really big 40K player, and then you get to play him like he is, but he's not like not making shit stomping lists. He's just having a good time.
He's not being a dick.
But if I'd asked him about that, I would have known immediately rather than having to gather that over several weeks. And the second time was playing in the old GW Battle Bunker. I came to a guy, like, oh, we play a game? I'm like, sure. He's like, what are you playing? I'm playing orcs. He flips the pages in his book to his anti-orc list and proceeds to bring out all of the high volume of firepower weapons his faction can bring. Which may be okay where he came from. I'd never seen him there.
Yeah.
But that's not okay in general. To be fair, I did shit stomp him, but that's because that's what I did back then. That was my life. But you need to have that. He should say like, oh, cool, where I'm at, we usually tailor our lists to the opponent so we get a good game. Oh, cool. That's cool. That way I know I'm not just, are you bringing all the shit just to kill me? We've had people do that in, we had a league, a challenge board league, the big, I'm sure Kathy's seen on the big triangle where you go up the pyramid, where you go up the pyramid to the top. And people trying to get through me would bring these, lists of all the guns ever, all the firepower to kill my orcs. That's okay. That's what the game implies. But you would not walk into a store and go, hold on, you're playing Cygnar? All right, I'll bring my anti-Cygnar list. You do not do that. That's some bullshit. And Crimson said he feels like War Machine Horde's idea is that it's balanced enough that even the broken stuff is still okay. It's not. That is the biggest failing of War Machine. Is that it is not balanced enough that even the broken stuff is still okay. It's balanced enough that if you know the game in and out, you're probably okay. It's a whole different thing. It's a hell of a game. It's like 40K. Shit's broken. Shit's going to be broken. It's not going to be fair. Just fucking deal with it. Eventually, they'll make that thing that's not fair, but something else will come out that's broken.
Yeah. Sombra Miniature Studios makes a good point, and I think that's what we need to do. Is as gamers what we need to do. He says, yes, these are great things that people should be doing, but my experience in the gaming community have been a part of would indicate that people simply don't.
Correct.
And
that is true.
And that's the big thing. We always say, be the change you want to see.
Yes.
Have that conversation. Someone new comes up. We used to do that back when we our Interlight, our local formerly our local henchman for Malifaux, now does professional streaming, doesn't have time to do that, he'd like, John, I want you to play, Chloe, she's new, I know you can scale yourself back to someone who's new, give her a good game, make her learn some stuff. Mm-hmm. That's what communities should be doing. And all of you who are volunteers for a game, if they have it, or if that is your goal to be the champion for that game, learn what your players are, what their levels are, what they can do. Our War Machine crew back in the day, we had Matt Hennemeyer, who was a very good top-tier player, but he could explain things well. He knew how to throttle it back. I would trust any new player to play with him.
Correct.
And we have Frank. Frank wants to be competitive, generally falls a little short, and does not have the off button. He goes hard. He doesn't complain when he gets shit stomped, and he doesn't taunt when he shit stomps people, but that is what he does. He has one speed, and it is go, go, go. I would not have a new player play him. So you have to sort of know that. And it's tough. It is tough. I think as we grow older and we have more and more hobbies demanding our attention, we can't necessarily know that. We devolve to our clicks, and we don't want to do that. We need to get open. You need to come on the game day if you can. Sometimes the game day is just put on every day that's inconvenient to you, possibly, being not Friday. In any case, but you need to do that. And you need to get people in. You need to let them know what intended. And you need to put the work in. If you're going to be that guy, you got to put the work in, and it's a pain in the ass. And I hate to say that. In order to make your gaming experience as good as possible, you have to put extra work in if there's no one else doing it. But sometimes that's the truth.
Yeah, I mean, we have a local player that's, like you said, that doesn't know any way but to curb stomp people. And that's his play style. And our actual store has a policy that he's not allowed to play anybody new to the game.
Absolutely.
He's allowed to advise or, sit there and watch or whatever, but he's not allowed to play anybody because he has that mentality. And he's an amazing player, but, it just something overrides, and we're like,
not everyone has that ability.
Yes.
I mean, so everyone shit on page 5 as being the wrong way to do things, but the spirit of page 5 was correct, is that you bring your best game all the time.
Correct.
Because that is how you play a game that is meant to be competitive. But what it forgets is that some people are just casual gamers. They just want to hang out with their buddies, throw some dice, and have some rules to do something when they're throwing their dice. That's okay. That's a valid play style, and you need to be able to cater to that. Crimson brings up some good points. He says his rule of thumb is at least try to get out of earshot before you whine Krakow OP because I'm not playing you, or Saltman is OP. So I find that most people don't have the cognitive ability, and this is no diss on people. The lizard brain takes over, and they don't think, oh my god, I got outplayed. They think, oh my god, that's overpowered because I can't think of a way to beat it. Did you stop and try? You're reacting on an emotional level, not on a logical level. I've come to some games where I'm like, dude, you own me, good game. Like, you are the man. I've had games like that and everything. And then you've had games where your dice are just shit. Those happen. But I made it a purpose of looking at people's dice when they're playing a game. It's like, oh, my dice were terrible. I'm like, no, your dice were fine. We have a saying where, did your dice help you win the game or not help you win the game? Because the thing, most dice will be generally average during a game, but they might not help you win the game. Rolling 12s to hit in War Machine does not help. When you roll 12s to hit and then low for damage, that's average, but it doesn't help you. Rolling exactly enough to hit and then 12s for damage, that helps you.
We have to interrupt this program for a news announcement, by the way. I just received over on my feed that Riz Ocasek, the lead singer of the Cars, just passed away.
Oh, snap.
Oh, wow.
Did it say how old he was? Because, I mean, a lot of these...
75. It was involved in a car wreck.
Oh, shit. That's worse. Rick Ocasek, Xander Warlord. Well, shit.
No, it wasn't a car wreck.
No?
Just an unconscious.
I mean, 75 is a rock and roller. Unfortunately, if your name's not Keith Richards, that seems to happen.
Yeah. He was found unconscious at a townhouse.
Well.
So. To Rick Ocasek.
But Crimson mentions the problem with page 5 is that it has some good stuff in it, but it's contained in such edgelordy, puerile language that actually promoted the opposite of what it intended. That is maybe the best description ever.
Yes.
Because the heart's in the right place, and that's sort of the thing. It's like looking at things. We are a very, and I'm going to talk in broad terms about everyone, not just gamers. We're very reactionary, emotional people right now. We do not stop at things. We do not look to our research. We are not thinking about what's going on average. And we need to. We need to be better than that. We need to stop. You need to go like, wow, that was terrible. Hold on. Was it terrible? Or did I do some stupid shit that caused me to lose that game? And you need to stop and take a look. Like Bane and I were playing and testing, like I said last night, with our testing games. And we'd spent time building his deck. I built my deck. And then I curb stomped the crap out of him. And we stopped and think and realized, okay, well, I feel like he's like, I'm not upset with your deck. Your deck's doing what it's supposed to do. It's just frustrating that my deck doesn't seem to have. He didn't have that oomph, so to speak. You know, it didn't work the way we intended it to. It just, when something doesn't work, sometimes it's hard to see because it looks like it's working, like you're doing your stuff, you're playing your cards, you're throwing some damage out, but then maybe it's just not doing everything it's supposed to. And then you just stop and take a look. Okay, is this deck design bad? Maybe. You know, and list design the same thing. Is this list design just bad? Is it just not working together? Because that's a problem. You may not see it until you take a step back and analyze what you did. Did you use your models properly? I could make a checklist of things you should do after a game before you start whining about your opponent's stuff being OP.
It's actually a good idea is to take notes after a game, and then because then you remember when you want to make tweaks, because then all you want to do is make some tweaks to your army and play the same guy with the same list. It's the same in card games versus miniature games. That is how you make your own army if you're not just net listing.
And even if you're net listing, you want to play it and still test it. Maybe something doesn't work for you. Maybe you're not grokking how that particular card works. I look at sometimes somebody's going like, why did you choose that? That's just not, you know what, I'm not taking that. I'm taking something else.
A list might be good, but if you don't know how to pilot it, then, you're still going to lose.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not because the list is bad. You just need a little practice with it.
And honestly, I feel sometimes we take list building for granted. As, I just put good stuff together and it works. Well, good stuff together works, but you have to use it good. And some guys, actually, Interlight used to say about me is, John, you take whatever models you take, and you tend to get the most out of them. You're not trying to use the square peg through that round hole. You'll get your round peg through it, or you'll go around it. You just won't do the round hole then. And sometimes you need to do that. But we need to all be a little more logical, stop and think about it a little more, and analyze what's going on. Like, I took pictures in a turn of a game we were playtesting for Star Wars Legion, and on one thing, I had a certain character go into a unit and roll a ton of black dice, and I got no hits. It was all blank, and it was a lot of black dice.
Well, and the thing is that's another thing that you can't blame on the person.
Exactly.
You can't blame dice rolls on the person because that is not their fault. It's a randomization.
In the exact next shot, I had a bunch of dudes shoot at some speeder bikes, and I rolled the exact opposite, where it's like, those are all hits and crits. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, I see people get mad.
Likely, that's perfectly average. Mm-hmm. It's similar number of dice, perfectly average, but are your dice helping you in the game? Well, no, because I got more hits in the speeder bikes than I needed to murder them, and this one could have used some more hits to make that a little less of a fight.
Yeah.
So that's sort of that look of, did your dice help you? I mean, I would say if you ever think that you're rolling terribly, take a step back, maybe write down your dice rolls for a game if you can. Just take a pad of paper real quick, write down every time you roll, I got this on 3 dice, this on this on this, and you can sort of take stock, and at the end of the game go, no, my dice didn't roll poorly, they rolled okay, but they didn't help me win. Because that can happen.
Yeah, I mean, you can't help dice rolls either way. Whether you're rolling really hot or your opponent's rolling really crap, there's nothing you can do about it. And you can't blame the person. I've seen people in tournaments, actually went to a tournament, and it was a 40K, and this person was like, you're using cheating dice. He's like, well, give me whatever dice you want, and I'll roll whatever dice you want. And I go, that right there is a very cheap move to...
I would never say that. You can tell what cheating dice... If you're familiar with dice at all, you will know if it's dice that are meant to cheat.
Yeah.
You will know by the way they roll, the way they wobble. You will see that shit.
Yeah. Well, what was funny, it was the dice that came in the starter box of one of the 40K sets that came out. And it was the dice that were in there, and they were like, those dice are cheating dice. I'm like, what?
Well, I've had the opposite, and people say, like, your dice superstitions are cheating.
Yeah.
Literally, I would roll dice, put them aside, roll new dice for the next roll, put them aside, and roll new dice for the next roll, and when I'm done, I put them all back in the pool and roll them all again. That's not cheating. That's just superstition.
That's just superstition.
I mean, that's just the way we did things.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that because it's not like
No.
you're supplementing and going, oh, I'm only going to roll this dice for this ability. I would
Now,
question if you were doing that.
yes, I see people go like, these are my morale dice. Like, really, why are they your morale dice?
Yeah.
I have dice I use for a morale test because on the on the sixes, there are the Ineptus Astartes symbol, which is a space marine and a caution sign with a grenade bouncing away from him, like he did throw well. Like, that's because it's funny. But I've caught people cheating
Yeah.
many times, and sometimes they do. They're easy to tell when they're cheating. It really is. If you stop and take a look, it's easy to tell. And for the key of all of this seems to say, if you keep a level head and keep your rationality about you, you will find you may not enjoy the game as much when you're winning because you'll feel a little bad. But you will not dislike the games you're losing because you have a good look, like, I fucked that up. Like, and you can't have your ego. You got to put your ego to the side.
Yeah.
Just because you're hot shit locally doesn't mean they ain't hot shit too.
Oh, that reminds me of a old story. We went to a major tournament in Tulsa one year, and a bunch of new people were there. We're like, cool, new players. And they were sitting there talking, and this guy was like, are y'all tournament players? I'm like, we go to a lot of tournaments. We're pretty decent, I would say. And the guy goes, well, this guy here, he's our PG, and he like beats everybody's ass at our store. And I'm like talking hands down, he beats everybody's ass just nonstop. And we're like, oh, okay, cool. And I'm like, good competition. We like good competition. And then we found out that he wasn't a good player. And he just didn't know the rules and was kind of abusing the rules against these people. And we were like, no, your guy's not a good player. He's a cheater.
Yeah. Well, the first tournament out of our area I went to was a team tournament. We went up to the Mid-Atlantic team tournament. And first round, we get paired against the team that won the last year. I didn't know. No one told me. Brad plays one of their people, and Paul plays against Dan Berger, and ends up winning because Dan totally forgets and kill boxes himself back when you lost the game immediately. And I had played against a guy who was really, really good, but no one told me, and I ended up winning a good, solid game with him. And like, he and his team won all last year. I'm like, no, I didn't know. I mean, I played Anthony Ferriolo in that same tournament and, beat him. And he was a solid player. He had some good thoughts, but, it doesn't mean they're unbeatable. But, just because, I never look at that. I'm going to come clean. I had ego problems when I was younger, and I have really reined that shit in. Yeah, I know. I know, like, real bad. Real bad.
Real bad.
And so I've reined that in, and I never, ever go into anything thinking I am actually good at the game. I go into everything going, I know how to play this game. I'm okay. There are people out there who are going to stomp my shit in. It helps me enjoy things better. So when, when that little kid comes in, like, man, you're pretty good, kid. But it comes both ways. Sometimes you walk into something, you're new, but you're actually good. But you want to keep that in check. So if you take lessons from me, it is think about what happened in the game. Really analyze it from a logical perspective to make sure it's not broken. Because sometimes things are broken. Spoiler, there are still War Machine things that are broken. There are still some things in Legion that are pretty good. There's some Mallow spell stuff that's probably hasn't been caught and fixed yet because the new edition's just out. It's going to happen. You can just hope it gets fixed, But look further and go, did you actually do anything wrong that exasperated it? Because some of the stuff may not be as bad as you think. Sometimes it gets into your head.
Yeah.
It's a downward slope. It's quicksand. Things start going poorly. You start doing stupid stuff, hoping to riverboat gamble your way to a victory, and you don't get their long odds, and it ends up poorly for you. You need to stop and think about that. The wise man once said, you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. And that's really true. Sometimes just like, I can't go and riverboat gamble on this. I'm going to take the same tact I would if I was doing well and just try and win this game by outlasting my opponent. And if you continue to lose, maybe next time you try it, but you look for that one shot. You can't just riverboat gamble your way through everything. People do it on the stupidest shit. Like, hey, this charging guy might cripple that jack. Yeah, he probably won't. Why are you wasting him?
Yeah.
Do it on something. Like, if you can charge a Warcaster and, like, if I hit and get a solid damage roll, I kill him, we'll fucking do that. You know, you risk versus reward is a lot of that game, especially when you start getting behind, whether stuff's broken or not, whether your dice are helping you or not helping you. When you get behind like that, sometimes you got to stop and think, what of these long odds would actually be worth the risk?
Yeah, I mean, because what's funny is when I'm playing certain people and we'll be done with the game, we're like, man, if I would have done this, I think it would have changed something else. And he's like, yeah, I think if you would have done that, it would have changed something stuff. But then you're at the end, you're like, man, my dice crapped out. And he goes, yeah, your dice sucked, and there's nothing you can do about it. And you're like, that's an understandable thing. But
Yeah.
I mean, there are people like you should not have gone first because of X, Y, Z. Talk about
Yeah.
what went with it. Don't downplay somebody. Don't disrespect them. Don't give them, a lot of shit about it. Going, hey, I think next time you play this army, I think you should probably go first, especially in this scenario.
Absolutely. You should be like, any of the game, figure out, like, okay, I feel like, now you can't always control things because there are random rolls in some of these.
Yes.
I feel like you played this model wrong. I told people, like, look, you just threw that model out there. What was it? Not Brushed Dave and I were playing, and he wandered one of his big hitters around the corner and stopped within stand-in minigun range of a moron with a minigun. So consequently, the moron with the minigun just took him off the table. I'm like, you just stopped there. No cover, no defense, nothing. You just said, yep, can you fucking kill me? Answer. Yes. Yes, I can. You can't do that. You have to think. And he got upset. I'm like, Dave, you're not thinking. You offered him up to me. If it was a sacrifice, sometimes it's worth it. That was not worth it. You just gave me a model and took nothing in response.
Yeah.
You're not peace trading. You're just going like, here, take this guy. All right, fuck. So you have to think about that because sometimes you get so... Maybe even you. Sometimes you're not seeing the forest for the trees. Sometimes you're not seeing the trees for the forest.
Yeah.
Take a step back, take a look, see, like, did I make a lot of little mistakes that added to a giant pile of losing the game? Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't.
Well, it would just that conversation in my head was playing constantly after playing that game, and I was like, there were things he could have done to stop me from getting stuff, and then there were things that
one move stops that whole thing.
Yeah.
One move. I take that. Sure, I get no value. Maybe that other value hurts me. But deleting a unit rather than leaving you half of it after you take that thing changes the entire scope of the game.
Oh, 100%. Because in Song, for people that don't know, in Song of Ice and Fire, you usually play towards victory points, and it's 10 victory points. Every time you kill a unit that is worth points, you get a victory point. So like Ghost is worth nothing because he's 0 points. But every time you stand on the objective, because we were playing the basic scenario, after the second round, you get a point.
Mm-hmm.
In one round, he took out 3 units with 1 unit.
I mean, is that unit broken?
No, it's not. He's playing a model that's technically not legally allowed to play right now, but I didn't care.
Oh, it's one of the Kickstarter ones?
It's one of the Kickstarter ones, and I don't care. I don't have a problem with it. It's not like we're practicing for a tournament. I'm like, just play whatever you want. I don't care. I just want to roll dice and throw miniatures around. And whenever he did it, he ran through 1 unit, 2 units, almost killed a 3rd one, and I was like, shit, you should have been going with him a lot sooner. Because one of the abilities it has is when the cavalry unit with the mountain hits, they automatically take some wounds, no save. Then they get to roll a hit and damage, and if they kill that unit, they get to make another charge after that fact. And so their charge is like 6 plus a d6. So if you can set it up right, you could get and hit and kill a couple of units. And he gets like a secondary charge. And I was like, I really think you probably should have gone with that unit and gone with it quicker and started smashing into people. Because it was like, he took 1 unit to full down to 1 guy in 1 turn. And I was like, damn. But then he did it again. And he just, like I says, he hit it, killed it, and then went to another one. And I was like, they're really, 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 really... I think you should have brought that unit in faster and not played around with it. I mean, it's a devastating unit. It just goes in and wipes things out. So I was just like, I probably would have played that unit a little bit faster and got into the battle quicker with them. And he was like, well, I'm glad I left him out so I could get in. But I was like, yeah, but you came in, a turn too late type thing. Because you could have been on me in a heartbeat and killing much more quicker. And winning the game quicker, in my opinion. Because I was worried after he hit that one unit, destroyed it, went to another one, and did a bunch of damage. I was like, oh, shit. He may pull this out just by wiping me off the board with all the models.
I mean, yeah, it happens sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the game was up to 10. I got to 10 before he did, but he was coming up behind me quick. So, it was pretty interesting. I finished my second Primal Archon, by the way. Putting them together.
Oh, that's what that is.
Yeah, it's the Primal Archon from since Oblivion came out. The Primal Archons was the only one I'm going to use in any army lists. I'll probably put them in a Grimkin list. But they're pretty freaking cool looking. I don't know how I'm going to paint them, but because my Grimkin have a certain paint style. But they're pretty cool looking. Pretty easy to put together. He might not look
good in your Grimkin paint style just because he's really different.
Yeah, but I mean, he's going to go... I have a Grimkin list with 2 of them in it, and they got some really cool abilities. They're really fucking good against Infernals. So it'll be interesting to see if they do anything or not. But they're really cool models anyway. I mean, they got some good structure to them. Really easy to put together, by the way. Interesting, they have 3 metal bits. Of course, you can see it, the claws here. And then an arm and a claw, which I thought was interesting that this arm was metal when this one was resin. Must have been some process.
Some things are just easier to do in metal.
Yeah. So I'm not sure. Because like I said, this resin one, this thumb is in resin, but this whole arm is in metal. So, I mean, there's got to be something about it. Really fit together really well, by the way. Their pegs and everything were good and solid. So, nothing extra there. Good solid model from them. Better than the widget model, by the way.
The widget? Oh, yeah.
So, all I did this week was put some Warcry. I didn't even put it together. I just separated it into the components for each building.
That's the biggest thing making me might want to get Warcry is some of the terrain. Terrain's pretty good.
Yes.
The terrain is amazing, and I Googled how do you assemble the Warcry terrain, and I found a video, and the video pointed me to a PDF, a blog post that this guy did, and he kind of explained a little bit more clearly than the official instructions that come in the box set.
What?
Just kind of which pieces you need for each bit of terrain if you want the terrain to work with the cards, because they have a deck of cards where you randomly draw what setup of terrain you're going to have. And I think that's a good idea. There's other people I know who are like, we're not going to play that way. We're just going to set terrain up however we want. But I feel like for this particular game, it makes it more interesting and different.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to that. Like, if you can get enough of the same sorts of terrain, you can just map out fair battlefields and go, this is how terrain set up for this table. I mean, I could see getting, let's say 8 complete sets of terrain, of the same terrain, and this putting out like 8 different configurations of the terrain, and just wander around going like each one set up a little differently, and that's how it is.
Yeah. Well, also when you're drawing the twists, some of them, are affected by the terrain. So it's important, to have that terrain and not just do here's a tree over here and you've got a tree on your side and there's a building off to the left, but we're just going to charge across the field and kill each other, which is of course the most boring way of playing a tabletop war game, in my opinion. Terrain makes it more interesting, and in Warcry with the twists and your victory agenda and your random deployment deck and the terrain deck, I think all that stuff adds to the game, making all that stuff random.
And you can, if you have enough terrain for their normal battlefield in the box, you might as well work it in somehow, because you can do cool things.
Even though that's not our topic, and now I've run into our media session.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Train is always a potential topic for
Yeah.
a month of podcasts on train.
I'm hoping to actually get it assembled this week. So we'll
Maybe
see.
next week
All
we'll
right.
talk about- and who knows?
Ooh, I see that Twitch is currently having problems with people going live. Da-da-da-da. Let's switch over to the media section. I have two things, really three things to talk about.
Yeah, I have two, counting this one thing we're going to talk about together.
I have nothing.
Nothing.
I know that's shocking. I did not watch a lot of anything, and over the weekend I was just busy with friends.
I got off work late multiple days this week, so I didn't have a lot of time to watch things. Though apparently there's a rumor going on at work that I leave early every Wednesday.
Why do you leave
Every
early?
Wednesday.
Why do you leave early every Wednesday?
I was there till 6:30 Wednesday.
He does not leave early. Someone is
No.
lying.
Yes, it's high school shit going on occasionally. It bothers me. But Chuckle was like, leave early Wednesday. Like, yep, 6:30. What's up? That's early. I only worked, I can't even do math right now. A long day. Any case, Gonzo, you should probably start off since you have the most things.
I'm going to talk about a movie I've already reviewed.
Okay.
And the reason why is because I showed it in my class. Of course, our Fun Friday thing happened, and I put a movie on. And it was interesting because I'd never watched it with someone from my class before. It is a Disney Pixar one, and it is Coco. I watched it before, and I first watched it, I was kind of meh on it. Then I watched it again, and I was like, much better with it. Liked it a bit more, and this time I was really, really excited to watch it, and actually was kind of emotional watching it this time. As everybody knows, it's a Disney Pixar movie about family and the Day of the Dead and cultural Latino type or Southern American type things, however you want to put it, and about music. I do have a Latino girl in my classroom. I've known her. This is my second year for knowing her. I didn't have her last year, but I have her for this year, and she speaks Spanish, and she's kind of hesitant about speaking Spanish because she's afraid of certain things, and she's scared, and rightfully I don't blame her for that any one bit, but I try to make her feel comfortable that she's allowed to. So I started teaching some of my kids Spanish words, and so my kids have started learning how to ask for to go to the bathroom in Spanish and stuff like that. Simple, just what you would learn in basic Spanish 101 type thing. And my kids are third or fourth graders, so it's a good, they pick up that things really easily. I wish I'd learned it a long time ago myself. But I wanted to watch it because I was looking for kids movies on Netflix, and that was the first one that came up. I'm like, I haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah.
And so I put it on there, and what was funny was one of the Spanish words, perfecto. And one of my kids goes, "Oh, that means right." And she goes, "No, that's Spanish for perfect. Yeah, learn your Spanish." And she was telling these kids, and she was teaching these kids the Spanish words that they were saying on the movie that weren't easily figured out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like perfecto, that's a good learning point. Like, obviously that means perfect because the same languages, you can explain root languages if you want, but that's more complicated.
But I thought it was interesting, and she was really, really, she was really happy that it was there. She was really getting into it. She was like, this is the music my parents listen to at home. And she was excited, and I was excited for her. It was a good thing. A lot of my kids that, are in there, they love the movie anyway because it was funny and, it's a Disney Pixar movie type thing. But I could tell that this meant a little bit more to her than the other kids because she was like, oh, they said this in Spanish. And I'm like, oh, that type thing. And, she was, getting it a bit more. And she goes, yeah, my mom throws chocolates at me too. So, and so it took on a whole different meaning to me watching one of my kids see it. I still like Coco. I still think it's a great Disney Pixar collaboration. The music, I think the music is still good. I don't think it's one of their best musical performances or musical things within a movie, but it took on a whole different meaning when I had a kid that had her culture represented in it, and that meant more to me than anything else. So for that, I'm changing it just for the pure aesthetic and making one of my kids feel special to zero space herpes now.
Oh,
And that was because it's really hard, and it cracks me up when people say, why does there have to be a girl in this, or why does there have to be, a black person or Latino or whatever, and I go, because there's people like that in the world,
yep.
and they deserve to be represented just as anybody else does. Not everybody is a white male or or whatever you want to do, but
If everyone was white male, we would be a doomed race.
yeah.
They already be.
But I mean, like I said, it kind of took on a little different meaning for me once I saw her reactions to what was going on and her reactions to things that were, she's used to or she's seen or she feels at home with it, type thing. And it really meant a lot for me, for her because she's Latin American. She speaks Spanish. Her parents barely speak English. And she's afraid of what's going on in the United States, and she doesn't want to speak Spanish. But I try to, we learn new Spanish words, and she gets to, talk to the kids about it, and the kids listen. The kids love it. They love saying, Spanish words. Like I have one kid, he doesn't know how to say the full, how to go to the bathroom. He's just like, baño, please, baño. And I'm like, okay, well, I can take you to the bathroom. Type thing, but I mean, it really, was good for me, and good for me to see that on one of my students' faces. So zeros just for cultural appropriation is what I say. Is that what it is?
No, but
Cultural
culture
representation.
Representation.
That's
No,
a
for,
different thing, yeah.
yeah,
It's
cultural
the
representation.
positive thing.
Yes,
Yeah, cultural appropriation is the negative
the
one.
negative. Yeah, it was really good for my
that
students.
movie with all white people.
Yes, so it felt a whole lot better for me and for her.
Cool.
So
That is awesome.
it was a really good day to watch her be happy.
And I
Awesome.
think I love that. It makes me feel so much better because I think it's shitty that there are kids out there who are afraid to speak the language that they speak at home because of jackasses.
Yes. Yeah, it really, because I've known her for a while, and she'd been, and I knew she spoke Spanish because when I had a parent-teacher conference with her, she translated, and I was making sure, because I know some Spanish. I'm not great at it. I'll freely admit that, but I was like making sure that she wasn't, mistranslating something on purpose because of where I work. But it was just a good moment. I was really happy to be, make her smile.
Hey, Adam. It's TG Archeon on the night shift.
The night shift. Well, my first movie is a movie that is made perfectly. You could not make this movie better. It is. I mean, spoiler. Also, zero shots of zero space herpes. Zero shots of Krakens. It is Speed Racer, the live action one, and it is.
Man.
Someone mentioned it on Twitter when I was picking up dinner on Friday. I'm like, you know what? I was going to play Borderlands 3, but fuck it, I'm watching Speed Racer because I love that movie. It is, in my opinion, a masterclass on how to get backstory in a movie without breaking the movie, without having just be exposition, flashbacks, all from a person's perspective as they're watching an event related to that is just very good, very well done. All the action scenes, all the big action scenes still get me, still love all of them. They're so stylistic. And time for a unpopular opinion, this is my favorite Wachowski movie.
I can see how you can say that. I'm not gonna. It's not mine, but I can see how you can say that because Speed Racer. When I saw they were gonna do it, I was like, "Oh crap!"
Yeah.
It's the whole thing of, "Oh crap! How do you turn Speed Racer cartoon into a decent movie?"
Like
and then I waited till it came in on the home theater, and I
Nope.
watched it at home, and I went, "Fuck, this is good. I'm
I
buying
saw it
this
in
shit."
theater. It was, if I recall correctly, it was the same year Iron Man and The Dark Knight came out. And of those three movies, I wanted to see two of them again immediately, and the third one I didn't. That's not to say it isn't a good movie. But Speed Racer is the one I was the closest to just going back in and watching again. It is awesome. Still gets me. All the points are all well done. There's character development for several of the characters. There's good humor. It never quite gets too cartoony that the adults it's got stuff for the kids and stuff for the adults, but it never panders to either,
Mm-hmm.
which is so hard to do. It is obviously made with love for the original series. It gets as much references as it can in there without slamming your face in it. It doesn't rub your nose like, see what we did there? It's just like, yeah, we did that. We'll stop. And Michael Giacchino's score is fucking awesome. It is worth listening to on its own. It is great. He does a masterclass job. And people have said, like, oh, there's too many colors and everything. It's a cartoon on live action.
Oh
The
man,
colors add to it so well. It is literally like every picture a painting. Like it's every frame is a fucking painting. It's great. I love it. I cannot say enough good things about the movie. I recommend it. I own it on DVD. I will probably buy it on Blu-ray just so I can get a damn better picture, the best picture I possibly can of it. If I ever get a 4K, I'll buy it in 4K. I mean, it is worth everything.
I wish I could have seen it on like the IMAX,
Oh God.
because that would have been amazing to watch on
Yeah.
IMAX with the colors and everything about it. I really, people that complain about the colors, fuck you. I'm just playing simple. That was one of the coolest parts of it because it was so bright and so vivid and so eye-catching.
And I understand it's not going to be for everyone. Not everyone is okay with it, and that's okay. But man, if you love the movie, this is one of those visual movies because it's like either you love it or you're like, it's not my thing.
Yeah.
And I hate to say you didn't get it because I don't think it's that you didn't get it. It's not for you. You know, I would love to see more, anime/cartoon things made live action in that sort of style. It fits so well for so many of them. It's just, I love it. I cannot say enough praise about the movie. I give it 0 space herbies, 0 shots of Kraken, and 5 out of 5 Casablancas. I said it. You could not make this movie better.
That makes me want to actually see it.
Oh, Kathy.
You got to.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to have to buy it on Blu-ray and then send you my DVD copy.
I am not I didn't grow up on Speed Racer like some of the people that I know. So it's kind of an alien thing to me.
And I hate that we may have hyped it up so much that it may not live up to your expectations, because it happens with movies. But, man, I just love the movie. It is one of those pure joy movies for me. I just put in and just enjoy it from front to end. It's one of those rare movies where it is as good watching from the beginning to the end as it is watching clips of it like on YouTube or something. Because there are so many race scenes, or there's a couple fight scenes that are just great. Some great lines. Are those ninjas? More like nanjas. Terrible passes for ninjas these days. And everyone looks the part, acts the part. They take all the material seriously. You cannot say enough for a movie that takes itself seriously like that. It's not taking a piss of stuff. There's no winking a nod at the camera, so much as in, like, oh, look, see what we did there? No, it doesn't do that. It goes, we're just taking it seriously. And it should show people this is how you do this. This is how you take something that could be a little silly, a little campy, and just take it seriously and go all the way.
Yep.
So, again, it is a perfect. You could not make the movie better.
I was really impressed with it because I was pretty down. I was like, really, this is gonna suck, and didn't watch it, and it didn't do good in the theater either. Nope. But when it came out on TV, I was like, fuck yeah, this is good.
To be fair, should it have? it's a niche series.
Yeah.
There's only a certain level of people who are doing it, who may have been at that age. Because thinking about how old I was at the time, if I was a normal person, I'd have kids. Not necessarily easy to make it out there. I'm pretty sure its home video sales has done much better, like a lot of things for that age. You got hit at the right time, but I'm glad it was made, and I'm glad it was awesome. Fuck, I'm gonna go watch it again right now. No, Gonzo, hit your second one.
My second one is I finally finished Carnival Row.
Okay.
I didn't get to finish it last week. Finished it this week. I still stand by everything. It's just a meh show. I'm no spoilers because it's still new and Kathy hasn't seen it yet. It was just okay. Maybe my hopes were too high for it. Maybe I wanted more from it. But it just wasn't great, and I was kind of disappointed in that. I like the urban fantasy, even though it's a 7th century, quote around 7th century fantasy. It just wasn't there for me. I'm going, Banyan says the same thing. The flashbacks were the cooler part of Carnival Row. The modern day story wasn't, the modern stuff wasn't as good. I liked learning about the past more than I liked learning about what was going on. It was just there.
Look, they can't hit it out of the park with every single one.
No, and that's what I'm saying. It was just it gets the 2.5 type thing because it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. It was just there. I mean, it's better than, like I said last week, better than a poke in the eye. But
Yeah, just ask Jim.
Call back. That's a professional podcast.
But I mean, it wasn't amazing or anything. It was just there. So,
did you enjoy watching it from front to end?
It was better than most things on TV anyway. That's what I'm saying. That's the reason why it gets the 2.5.
Probably sounds more like a 2 actually. If it's better than most things on TV, because the average thing on TV should be about a 2.5. Like, take it or leave it, whatever.
More like a 3. I'm not thrilled with most things on TV.
Yeah, most things on TV are a 3 in my opinion.
Oh, well, you guys hate TV.
Well,
I don't watch it.
Hence why I'm not watching it very often. I'd never have things to talk about.
I was hoping you would have like the watching spree of NCIS. We could talk about NCIS, but
we never did. They had college football on yesterday in the background.
Oh, yay, college football!
And today it was, obviously NFL day. So they're very football oriented, and Kimberly and her family are Ohio State people, and so.
Well, Buckeyes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have to remember. I don't really know. I've never been a college football guy. I was an NFL guy. I follow the scores occasionally. Like when I drove to get lunch today, I had sports radio on, listened to the Ravens game because I'm tangentially interested, and none of the channels near me play the Redskins game. So, and they lost anyway. So who cares? Because I'm not shocked. So I think the last one we're going to talk about is actually Gonzo and I talking about the same thing.
It is, but I wanted to interrupt because I did think of something else I needed to talk about just quickly. The finals of BattleBots is on. The top 16 has been decided. And if you're into it, BattleBots is so much fun. I introduced...
is it the early 2000s again?
It is. But they finally made the top 16 bracket to find out who the winner is. I got one of our listeners, Erica, into it, and she's like, your guy got knocked out. And she's like, well, damn it, and stuff. But I mean, I really, really, really like BattleBots because it's some really cool engineering, and there's nothing more fun than watching bots get shredded and thrown into the air and destroyed, and then they look at them like, oh well, we'll just rebuild it and do it again.
So, fair. I feel like that sounds like YouTube content. I mean,
they removed it from YouTube content.
But if people are liking it, it's all good to me.
They removed all BattleBots from YouTube because it was harmful to animals.
Yeah, way to go, YouTube. It probably is they couldn't call it BattleBots because YouTube would no longer monetize it because it had the word battle in it.
No, they actually got rid of all robot fighting stuff off of YouTube, BattleBots, and all the other type of spin-offs because it showed depiction of harmful to animals.
They're not animal.
It's violence in any form. YouTube is really getting very sanitized.
Yeah.
And this is something that we've been finding out only because we paint wargaming miniatures, and you have to be very careful of how you do your title and description on YouTube.
Sable,
Because
stop miniature gaming.
if you put the wrong keywords, the quote unquote wrong keywords in there, YouTube just won't monetize it because advertisers will look at those keywords and be like, I want nothing to do with that because it has the word Morticia in it, because it's a painting, it's a tutorial on how to paint Morticia Adams, but Morticia, the word, sounds too much like words that mean death and murder in other languages.
Yep.
So he had to change.
They're not wrong, but like,
And that's what's happening. Is there's things that are being demonetized because they have keywords in them, even though it doesn't matter that they're not bad.
Time to go on a rant.
For another time. Hold on.
No. Simple rant. If you guys like what people are doing on YouTube, go to their Patreon, support them on Patreon, help them that way.
Yeah, because
that is going to do more help than anything on YouTube could be.
Yeah.
I support every channel that I really like, and I look forward to their videos. I'm like, I deserve to give this guy deserves for me to give him money. I give them money. Because also I have ad blockers, so I don't ever see ads on YouTube on my computer. So they don't get any ad money from me. So I want to make sure they get some sort of money from me if they're doing what I like to do, what I like to see done. So there you go. Proceed.
Okay, so let's go with our video game review. I will have to tell you, John, I've only played it for maybe a few hours, but I was hesitant to pick it up.
Why were you hesitant to pick up Borderlands 3?
Okay.
Gonzo? Because we talked about this earlier. It's the first game I've bought on before release day in a decade.
Yeah. Okay, so I liked Borderlands 1. I bought the Handsome Edition, been playing it for a while, so on and so forth. All in on it, no problem. I wasn't able to pick it up on release day, so I was waiting, and I was like, oh, what are reviews saying? And it got really mixed reviews, and for like the first day or so. And I was like, oh, this is not good. What's going on with it? And so I was kind of hesitant about picking it up. And so I waited a little bit, picked it up today, because I started looking at more reviews and found out that some of the reviews were, of course, biased reviews.
Of course.
About it. And I was like, okay. Because I'm like, what all do you want from a Borderlands game? John?
First person shooting, crazy violence, and humor.
Okay.
Got it.
There you go. That's a Borderlands game for you.
Job's a good one. Spoiler, job's a good one.
Yeah. So I went and picked it up, downloaded it, and started playing it today. Not very far into it. Very easy, very, not a problem trying to get it done. I'm only like level 4, I think, so I haven't played hardly any.
Yeah, that's where I stopped the first night. I got to level 4. I only played for about an hour. Because I was that day I was not at work late. My boss made me go home on time. Things were not working, so, he's like, go home. You don't try and fix it tonight. So I played it for about an hour, enjoyed the crap out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Played for a little bit Friday night, and then a little bit Saturday, and then played for several hours today, and my crew jumped in. And let's talk about cooperative mode. When you start a character, you choose cooperative mode or competitive mode. So when people jump into your game, it affects how the game works. If it's competitive mode, they jump in, all the drops are first come, first serve. The monsters are all scaled to whoever game you're in. So if you're in my game, you're stuck at level 9 monsters because I'm level 9. Or wherever appropriate level for whatever my game is, where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
But in cooperative mode, all loot drops are unique.
Mm-hmm.
So if it drops loot for loot, I see different loot than you see.
That's cool.
Yes, and when you jump in, the monsters all scale to whomever. So I see a level 9 monster, Banyan sees a level 20 monster, and they have chunks of hit points, and it basically goes by percentage. You did. It doesn't show that, but it has a bar that's segmented into 4 things, basically, quarters of his life, and you do damage based off that. So if we're shooting the same guy, he may be doing, 3 times the damage I'm doing, but it all shows equally that we're taking it down appropriate based on what we see. That is the greatest video game feature I've ever heard.
I see. I didn't know that about cooperative mode. I chose cooperative also because I was like, if someone jumps in. That's actually a very good feature.
It's amazing. Whoever thought of that, deserves a raise, because that's a great, great feature. Because it means that my buddy, Bringer of Hugs, could jump in and play with me, and then Not Brushhead Dave could jump in, and we're all disparate levels, and they're helping me with the missions. Things get harder because there's more guys in, but it all scaled properly. They get drops that are appropriate for them, so it's not a waste of their time. They can even level off. That's why Bringer Hugs is so high level, because he keeps jumping to other games, just getting experience, because it's worth it for him. It's not just, oh, hey, I got to find another character that's the appropriate level to hang out with you, so we don't screw things up, or it's not worthless for me, or whatever. Now it's just, I just bring my main, whatever character I want, and it scales appropriately for everyone. If Gonzo's playing and I jump in and he's level 1, I jump in with my level 50 character, I can help him out, and it's appropriate. It's a really, really great feature. And so I'm not going to say the game's just perfect. Some things I would have liked to have worked closer to Borderlands 2. You played a lot of Borderlands 2, things are similar enough that you try to use buttons that don't do what they used to do. But they're good about sort of telling you what buttons do that, and it just takes a little getting used to, like any game does. And the aiming's a little different, so you got to get used to it. It's standard first-person shooter problems. Every game aims a little differently. You got to learn a little bits of it, and even this version of that is like that. But I like the sort of variety of the guns. I like pretty much everything they've done with the game. And I'm not far either. I'm only level 9. Banyan's level 20. Bringer of Hogs is level 20-something. Not Brushhead Dave's close to 20. So we're all over the place. Most of them are higher up because they have more time to play than I did. But I really like it, and I really like all the features so far. I am playing the operative Zane, and it is cool to drop down a duplicate of myself who also shoots bad guys, and then advance and fire. And when I get in too deep, I hit a button and I switch places with my duplicate, because that's cool. All right, you be up there in danger. I'm going to go over here and wander off.
See, I chose, Amara?
Oh, the Siren. I haven't seen her play yet.
I'd say go with that, because I thought it looked kind of neat, all the fists and the slamming abilities, and, have pretty decent hit points and can get, up close if need be. And I was like, it just sounds interesting. So I went with Amara. I
like the way the trees work for most of them, that you don't have, for her, apparently, there is a tree that's melee-centric. There's other trees that aren't. So, it's still a gun game.
Yeah.
So you don't end up with, unless you choose to, you don't end up with Krieg, where he was melee. He was about melee.
Yeah.
His action skill was all melee. You can choose to do that, but you don't have to.
Yeah, I looking at Banyan, he went with the Beastmaster, and I know a lot of people went Beastmaster.
One went Flak locally. Actually, we have 2 Flaks, 1 Flak, 2 Moses, and 2 Zane. So we've got a decent split. No one decided to play the Siren because some people were worried you would be all melee, and we're not really about that. But I'm enjoying the game. I so far am easily getting my money's worth out of it, and hope to get more time to play.
I do too. I was having a good time. If anybody's playing on PS4, look me up. Come and join me. I'll play and shoot things with you. Got no problem with it whatsoever. I'm always up for gaming like that. So
yeah, if you guys are on a particular platform and playing, hit us up on Facebook, and we'll send you our gamer tag so you can join us. I can't necessarily let you in the Discord server we use to talk to each other, because it does one flaw with it, because we should address the elephant in the room. It's not through Steam or anything, it's through Epic instead, because Epic gave Gearbox a better deal on their part of the sales. So you can't blame that. I mean, they need to do that. So it doesn't have an inherent way to talk to each other. You have to find a third-party way of talking to each other. That being said, jump in and play. Might be able to get you a Discord server so you can talk to each other because, I mean, that helps a lot. It was very enjoyable playing with Bringer Hugs for most of the game, and then a little bit with Not Brush Out Dave as well earlier this morning. So far looking good. Looking like it's probably going to end up being a low. I mean, are we still going to call it space herpes? Yeah, sure. Low space herpes count for this game. Right now, I would say it's leaning towards the between. Which is the 1 or lower, but still plenty of game left. I know some people have already won it, which is crazy. Guys, slow down. Enjoy it for a bit.
That's like playing Diablo 3 when the season starts, and and I'm into it like 2 hours, and all of a sudden there's you can see the people who are making the national leaderboards already with stuff, and I'm like, I'm level 10. How are you doing this?
Well, some people, that is, I don't want to say their life, but that is their hobby, and that is all they do. I mean, we paint miniatures and talk on podcasts, and they're playing games.
This weekend, I spent the weekend playing Diablo 3 with my friend Kimberly, and that is her hobby. And she loves just trying to get up on the leaderboards and figure out all the, getting the achievements and all that stuff. And, she kind of helped me get closer to finishing some stuff in the season, which was cool.
That's cool. I really enjoyed back in the Diablo 2 days. My ex and I would play Diablo 2 together and run through zones and have a good time. We didn't need a Discord server because we just yell at each other across the room. But I like these games that are solo and then scale if people bring in. It's very fun.
It's very much worth it because you don't have to worry about, oh, let me get my alt, or let me get this, or let me get that. It all works for you.
Like, there was the point where I started playing with other people in Borderlands 2. Yeah, sure, I can find an alt. I have characters upon characters that were doing stupid shit, trying stuff out. There's a lot of self-imposed limits you can throw on yourself that people have done through that. Or I can usually find an alt at the appropriate level, but it's better not having to. Like, I'm playing this guy, I want to continue playing him. You can just do it.
All right, well, guys, that is it for our episode tonight. Thank you for joining us for episode 92.
93.
I know.
I'm John.
I'm Gonzo.
I'm Kathy.
No, I'm Kathy.
No, you're not.
I'm Kathy.
You're not pretty enough.
I want to be Kathy. I want to be a good painter.
Fine, be Kathy.
All right.
Shave and dye your hair.
Ooh, I think everybody will like if I shaved my beard off and dyed my hair blonde. And put things in my ear. Can I do that?
Yes.
You can do that. It's a free world.